to my YouTube channel Medicine Hub 101. So hope you are safe and be healthy right now. Today basically I'll just upload the video regarding the very important topic on from the aspect of the pathology, that is or the neoplasia and the cancerous cells. And in this video we're going to talk about basically how a normal cells, how a physiologically normal cell is getting converted into the cancerous cells or the neoplastic cells. That's the main important topic here, guys. Okay, so let's start the topic. So first of all, what is the topic? Name of the topic is neoplasia. Okay guys, neoplasia. So neoplasia means some things, that neo means new, and neoplasia means the extra growth. So whenever there will new extra growth at the time, we'll just consider all the things as the neoplasia here. So for the new growth, there should be rapid cell division, of course. That may be controlled, that may be uncontrolled type of the cell divisions here. Okay, guys. Now see it here. First of all, I just draw a diagram. Just to have a look on the diagram. Okay, guys. We'll just consider it's normal cells here. Okay, guys. And take as just assume that is the on type of the what is skin cells. Okay, take it like skin cell. I'm just taking any part of the cells you can take. I'm taking skin cells here, guys. Now within the cell, each cells there are certain types of genes, and you have to know the name of the genes here. Okay, guys. There are certain types of genes. Okay, see it here clearly. The red marks just consume the group of genes. Okay, guys. Okay, now see it here. Okay, guys, now see, for any divisions, we know there is some genetical program within the cells. There are some genetical mechanisms within the cell that is going through the cells, and if the mechanisms are well, then the cell will go only for divisions. Otherwise the cell will not go for divisions. If the systems are automatically corrected here, then the cells will go only in for divisions. So there are some group of the genes here we can see. Okay, these genes, whenever these genes will get stimulated at the time, this cell will give the signal to the another group of the genes, another set of genes. Whenever these genes will be stimulated for division purpose, after that this gene will just stimulate another group of genes, and this group of genes is called, this genes will do what? DNA synthesis, or you can say DNA replication. The function for these genes is DNA replications, for suppose. Okay, I can say there is a DNA replication here. Okay, guys. And there is another type of the group of genes, and these genes what? These genes will just inhibit whenever the DNA replication will be done. After that the cell will understand, yes, the division has been done, so it will stop the further replication. It will stop the further replication from the what? The set of genes that is responsible for DNA replication. Now we have to know the first the group of the genes here. What? These are the genes that will whenever these genes will be stimulated, after that they will just do the starting program for the cell division. They will give the signal to another group sets of genes or another group of genes, and those genes will do, they will do starting, there is the DNA replications. After that, whenever the DNA replication will be done, then and there is another type of the genes or another group of the genes. These genes will inhibit the DNA replicatory genes, and this gene will do the inhibition in this case. That will not let the cell to do more further replications or further divisions. Now guys, you have to know, okay, we can say what? These are the genes. You can say what? Set of genes. Set of genes stimulated for proliferation. For proliferation. Okay. Now what will happen, guys? Then the genes, what? The gene for here DNA replication, we can say this is the gene for DNA replication, guys. Okay. Now guys, here whenever and these genes will just whenever the DNA replication will be done, then what will do, this the set of the genes will just inhibit the DNA replicatory genes, and as if it cannot do the further divisions after that. Okay. Now see, we are seeing here this is the set of these genes. These genes are called the proto-oncogenes. The name of the genes are what? Proto-oncogenes. Proto-onco gene here. This is the proto-oncogene, guys. Okay, and whenever these proto-oncogenes are getting stimulated at the time, they will just think for the proliferation of the cells. Okay, then what? Then we can see there is another group of the cells in genes. What's the name of the genes? It is called tumor suppressor genes. Tumor suppressor gene. That means what? It will just do suppressions, as if it cannot do the cells to, it cannot let the cells to do for the divisions or for the replications. There's a normal thing here. Then for suppose there is one another type of the genes group, the set of the genes here. Okay, guys, and these genes are called the DNA repairing genes. DNA repairing. This is called DNA repairing genes. It's called the DNA repairing genes. This is called DNA repairing gene. Guys, now whenever for suppose within the DNA, if there is any damage, for suppose within this gene set of the genes, if there is any damage within the DNA, then this gene will come and this gene will do what? Will do correction. Will do correction here, as well as this gene do correction here. So these are called the DNA repairing genes. For suppose in our cells, by any chance, by any means, if there is any injury or if there is any damage within the DNA, then this group of the genes that are called the DNA repairing genes. This DNA repairing genes will go there and they will do the correction within the protooncogenes and what? The tumor suppressor genes. Okay, guys. And for suppose if the if the for suppose I am just taking the things here. There are another type of genes, just taking like this. Okay, and after that there will be another type of the genes here. Just take it as it. Okay. Now for suppose there are the cells and the cells wants to finish its divisions. For suppose how long the cell will survive within our body. Okay, that is also controlled by the group of the genes. That is, there's a one set of the genes, we can say, within one set. Okay, guys, now how long a cell will survive in our body, that is determined by these genes. Okay, there's two genes here. So one of the genes here, survive regulatory genes. Survive regulatory genes. Whenever these genes will be stimulated, the cell will live longer. And for chance, this is another type of the genes that is called pro-apoptotic genes. We can say pro-apoptotic genes. Pro-apoptotic genes. Now, guys, you have to understand that. For suppose if the cell wants to live longer, then which type of genes should be stimulated? Then what? This type of the genes, that is what we can say anti-apoptotic genes. Okay, another name, the survive regulatory genes, or we can say anti-apoptotic genes. Anti-apoptotic gene here. And whenever this gene will get stimulated, then this gene will do something by which the cell will live longer. And by chance, if the cells if the set of the genes which the pro-apoptotic genes are getting stimulated, then what will happen? The cells will commit suicide by the process of apoptosis. Okay, this is the normal thing that physiologically in the normal cells these things are happening. Okay, I'm repeating again. First, suppose whenever the cell will just think to have divisions in the further steps or for cell divisions, first one type of the genes that is called the protooncogenes that will get stimulated and the genes will go. But whenever this gene will get stimulated, they will give signal to another set of the genes that is called DNA replicatory genes. When they will do then what? The DNA replications, and after that another type of the genes will get activated. This is called the tumor suppressor genes, and these genes will do what? They will give a signal to where? To the in the DNA replicatory genes, and they will tell the DNA replicatory genes not to divide further because that is done up for that. Okay, that's why it's tumor suppressor genes. That means it will not let the divisions to cause the tumor here. Then there are another group of the genes in the normal cell, that is the DNA repairing cells. Okay, by chance, if there is by any means, by any cause, if there is any injury, or if there is there any damage, if there is any damage within the genes of the DNA, then this gene will be stimulated and they will go there and do the correction of those genes, which will get damaged. Okay, then guys, how long a cell will survive in our body, that is dependent upon what the two type of the genes that is in our body, that is the, you know, the survive regulatory genes or anti-apoptotic genes, and another is pro-apoptotic genes. Okay, first suppose in our body the cell wants to live longer, it wants to stay longer, then what will happen, this type of the genes will get stimulated and their function will be off now. Okay, off, then why, then the gene will be, the gene will be activated and this gene will just do something by the translation process, and they'll produce some protein by which the cell will, these genes will give the signal to the cells, or the genetic program mechanisms, then by which the cell will live longer. But by chance, if this type of the genes get stimulated, then what will happen, the cell will just commit suicide, because what, the pro-apoptotic genes will lead to the cells to do apoptosis. Why there will be apoptosis? In physiologically, from the best of the physiology, if we say, if there is severe damage within the DNA, if there is a severe damage within the DNA which cannot be repaired by the DNA repairing genes, if there is something wrong, or if we say normally, just in general, if the damage within the DNA is so severe that cannot be replicated, that cannot be corrected by what, by the DNA repairing genes, at that time the cell will commit suicide. By the what, when at that time the what, the pro apoptotic genes will get stimulated and these genes will lead to the cells to do what, apoptosis. This is a normal cell, in in from the base of the normal cell, if we say, this is the normal happening. Okay, now guys, if we will talk about the from the waste of the cancer cells, how the normal cells are getting converted into the cancerous cells or the neoplastic cells, this is very very important here. Okay, now see it here. So it's about the normal cell, guys. Okay, now I'll tell you here how the normal cell is getting converted into the cancerous cells or neoplastic cells. Just be with me. Okay guys, same thing we'll do here, guys. I'm doing it the same thing. Okay guys, just be with me. Same thing you also draw in your copy. Okay, let me finish it with keep patience. Okay guys, I'm done. Now I'll discuss the things here. Okay guys, in normal cells, see it here, in normal cells what was there, in normal cells, these are the protooncogenes, this is the normal thing. Okay, but in cancerous cells, first suppose if there is any mutation, if there is any mutation within the genes of the protooncogenes, and this mutation may be by many means, it may be by radiation, so you can say by radiation. Okay, by, you can say by chemical carcinogens, we can say by chemical carcinogen, or you can say by oncogenic virus. By any means, whenever this group of the genes will be mutated, at the time what, mutation means, you have to understand the guys, mutation means what, mutation means there is the like permanent change within the DNA, permanent change within the DNA that can be inherited for the further offsprings. What is mutations? Mutation is such things that what, mutation is such thing what is, in which position what, the genes will be changed permanently, and the capacity of the genes will have to what, to transfer for the further inheritance, generation after generations. Okay, Now see, these are the genes, we called it the genes that was, this genes is called as what? The proto-oncogenes. We say what? Proto-oncogenes. Proto-oncogene here, guys. Now whenever this gene will get stimulated, or whenever this gene will get what? Sorry, mutated at the time, by the process of mutation, by the process of mutation, they will get converted into oncogenes. That is responsible for cancerous things, neoplastic things. So whenever these genes will be mutated by any means, it may be by chemical carcinogen, it may be by radiation, it may be by oncogenic virus, whatever is the cause of the mutations, the proto-oncogenes will get converted into oncogenes. And whenever these oncogenes will be stimulated, or you will have the capacity to get converted into what? To produce proliferation. And they will have one type of the property, they will have what? The cell sufficient growth capacity. This cell will have what? Sufficient growth capacity. Growth capacity. This means if the cells wants to divide till its death, not till we cannot say that death. We see how long the cell will want to divide, it can. Okay, so it will about the one type of the property of the cancer cells. If we say their cell will have the cell sufficient growth capacity, cell sufficient growth capacity will have. Okay, then guys, so this gene by mutation is gaining gain of function, gain of function. That means what? These genes will have the capacity to divide further, more and more, more and more. So what this gene will do? Further proliferations rapidly, too much fast. So the cell sufficient growth capacity is one of the property of the cancer cells. Again, then what will be happen there? By the process of mutation, this will be also mutated, and this tumor suppressor genes, this tumor by the process of what? We can say there is a tumor suppressor genes. These genes, tumor suppressor genes, will be also what? Mutated. Tumor suppressor genes. What does their function? To inhibit this one, to inhibit the further replication. But now if it is not done right now, for suppose this gene is dysfunctional, by the process of the what? Whenever the tumor suppressor gene will be mutation, will have mutation, then it will be dysfunctional. It will be dysfunctional. Now if it is dysfunctional, then this type of the gene will just lose the capacity to what? To do inhibit what to do inhibit the DNA replication, to inhibit the DNA replication. So this gene is losing its capacity to inhibit the DNA replicatory genes here. So what? By the process of the mutation, it is what? It is losing its function. So what will happen? We can say by the process of mutation, it is we can say the loss of function here. Loss of function. Now this genes we have seen here, this is the gain of function, it will divide too much and no one is here to stop him. No one is here to stop him. So what will happen? It can divide further, more and more, more and more. Okay guys. Now one more thing, to be the cancerous cells, there are some properties, more properties that should be followed by the cells. What? There is the genes. And this is also where the DNA replicatory genes. DNA replicatory genes. Or the toolbox, we can say. And there will be also mutation for the to be the cancerous cells, there should be also the mutation. And whenever there will be also mutation, there will of course loss of function. Loss of function. Okay, that means what? If this gene sees that something is wrong out here, then this genes will be not activated to stop it. Okay, if the gene sees what? If the gene sees something is wrong here, then the gene will not have the capacity to correct it. If the gene sees something wrong here, this gene will not have the capacity to make it in the normal form. Okay, to come back into the normal form. So there will be also the like what? The mutations within the gene replicatory gene. Sorry, not gene replicatory, it's like gene repairing. Sorry guys, DNA repairing. DNA repairing genes, DNA repairing genes. And whenever there will be the like the mutation in the DNA repairing gene, then it will just lose its property, it will lose its function to correct the genes which will be defected. This is the normal thing. Okay, in case of what? Cancerous cells. Then we will come here. Okay, what will happen? And there is name of the genes what? So another property from this point we can say what? See it here. From this point we can say insistence to growth inhibitor factor. Insistence. That means what? They cannot do it like they will do neutral things. Okay, insistence to growth inhibitor factor. To growth inhibitor factor. That means these genes this gene cannot inhibit this one. These genes cannot inhibit this one. That's why insistent to growth inhibitor factor, because this is the growth factor. This is also the growth factor, growth genes. Okay, growth regulatory genes. Then guys, these two genes are called survival genes. We say there's the survival genes, and the cancerous cells of the neoplastic cell will have such capacity. To do mutation within these two genes as well. What they will do here? They will just come, and after coming, they just what? This is the anti-apoptotic genes, and this is whenever it is like that what? Apoptotic, or you can say pro-apoptotic. We say apoptotic gene. And for the cancerous cells, whenever this normal cell will get converted into the cancerous cell in this form, then what? There will be also mutation within these genes. These anti-apoptotic genes will be mutation, and they will do what? Gain of function. By the mutation, they will have gain of function. That means what? They will have the gain of function. That means what? The cancerous cell will live longer, too much. They will live for many years. That means what we can say? The cell will not die easily. Okay, the cell will not die easily here. So by the process of the mutation for on the anti-apoptotic gene, the cancer cell will not die. Rather, if we say the apoptotic genes, there will be the mutation also. There will be also mutation, and there will be what? The loss of function. Why loss of function? See, if these genes are having the loss of function, then they cannot what? They cannot do the apoptosis of the cancer cells. Whenever there will be like loss of function by the process of mutation in case of cancer cells, then they will not have such capacity to have the process, or to have the process conducting, that is the apoptosis of the cancer cells. So they will lose the property here. So let's what we can say, the loss of functions in these cases here. So rather, from the view of the another point, we can say what here, that in case of anti-apoptotic genes, there will be the gain of function. So the cancerous cells will survive longer within our body. And from the opposite things, what? On the apoptotic genes, there will be what? The mutation. So what? There is loss of function. So the cells cannot go. The cells will not do what? The cell will not commit suicide. So they will stay longer in these cases here. Okay. So DNA repair gene dysfunctional. Another type what? From the another type of the property. Okay, let me write it here. The properties of the cancerous cells. Okay, guys. The properties of the cancerous cells. Okay. We can say neoplastic cell. See guys, first what will be there? I just said what? The cell sufficient growth. There I said the cell sufficient growth capacity. There is what? Cell sufficient growth capacity. That means what? This gene, whenever there will be mutation within these genes, they will have such capacity to divide further and further. Okay, so first point, cell sufficient growth capacity. Cell sufficient growth capacity. Next point, what did I say, guys? That what did I say? That this gene, which gene? This gene will not be able to inhibit these genes. This gene, or the tumor suppressor genes, by the process of mutation, it will lose its function, and it cannot inhibit which gene? The DNA replicated genes. Okay, so we can say what? insistence to growth inhibitor factor. We can say insistence to growth inhibitor factor. Insensitive, or you can say insensitive normal. You can say that means that's not sensitive. This gene is not sensitive to inhibit these genes. Further, that means what, if it is sensitive for this gene, then this gene will not be able to do further replication, right or not? But whenever there will be mutation, then this gene will lose its capacity to inhibit this gene. So what, that's why I am writing it here, another property, that is that insensitive to growth inhibitory factor, insensitive to growth inhibitory factor, growth inhibitory factor, growth inhibitor factor. Okay, the third point, what will be here, then we can say the DNA repair genes dysfunctional, that we see it. If something is wrong out here and here, there is what, the DNA repairing genes, DNA repairing genes, and there is also mutation, so loss of function. So also we can say what, the DNA repair genes dysfunctional, another property, or dysfunctional. We can say what, guys, DNA repair genes dysfunctional. Okay, guys. Now another property here, we have to know that what, evasion of apoptosis. They will do what? They will do the mutation of the apoptotic genes. They will do the apoptotic genes, and the apoptotic genes will lose its function. So they the cancer cell cannot do the suicide process by the process of apoptosis, because the apoptotic genes are already mutated here. So the apoptotic genes are losing their capacity to make it, the cancerous cell to apoptotic cells. So they will not be done there. So another property, we can say what, evasions of apoptosis, evasion of apoptosis. From these points we can say these things. Okay, guys, another point you have to know it here. Okay, guys, in normal cells, for suppose the normal cells, within the normal cells, if we see within the DNA, or for suppose chromosome, if we consider the chromosome, if we consider the chromosome here. Okay, guys, sorry, it's not looking okay. Take it as normal. Okay, now for suppose within the chromosome, and the last part, or this portion is called telomere. It's called telomere. It's called telomere. Now for suppose the cell will divide, how much time, that is depend upon the telomere. For suppose there is a cell, just consider it here. For suppose there is a cell, within the cell there is within the chromosome, the DNA is here, the chromosome is here. First suppose the telomere this much and this much. Whenever it is doing its one division, after that the telomere will come short. That the length of the telomere will get decreased. First suppose is, if we just consider it is, first suppose 5 centimeter. Okay, it's 5 centimeter. In the next division we will see, first suppose, take it normal. Okay, first suppose this is 4.99 centimeter, guys. Like this only it will continue like this. The telomere will come on decreasing short by short. Too much, how much further, whenever the cell division process will just continue, then after each cell division, what, the telomere will get decreased, the length of the telomere will get decreased, and whenever the telomere will finish at a time, for suppose the telomere is getting finished, there is nothing, for suppose nothing, that means nothing is there. So the telomere, whenever it is finished, you can say no telomere, there is no telomere. At that time the cell will just commit suicide, because there is no telomere, so it cannot do further division. How much time the telomere is activated here? Okay, until it's becoming shortest part, it will just continue with the division process. But whenever it is coming in the normal process, or what, the telomere is becoming too short, and for what the cell is not able to do its further division, so at that time the cell will do what? Apoptosis. The cell will get die by the process of apoptosis here. But what is happening in cancer cell, that is strange, guys. See it here. The cancer cells are having such capacity. Okay, sorry guys. The cancer cell is having such capacity. The telomere will never get decreased. The telomere you are seeing, that telomere will not never get decreased. Telomere will never get decreased. Never get decreased. Why? Okay, there is one enzyme, and that enzyme is not functional in this cases. So what will happen, guys? The telomere will be activated. So what? If the telomere is not get it, never get decreased, then what will happen? The cell will continue its division. Will continue divisions. Will continue its divisions. So what will happen? The cancer cell will have, that's why the cancer cells are having the capacity to continue its divisions for the step by step. So it will never die. Okay, so we can say limitless capacity to divide. We can say limitless capacity to divide. There are many points also, guys. I'll just tell in the next video, that is neoplasia part, first part, and I'll say about the neoplasia second part in the next video, and we will just discuss about the endotheliasis, angiogenesis, how the blood vessels are getting created, and by the process of angiogenesis they're going from one port to another port by the process of metastasis. I'll just tell all the things here. Okay, just today I just give you the first part, and the next part I'll just discuss about how the all the things that are happening here, the metastasis, the angiogenesis, many things are there also. So I'll just tell all the things in the next video. And guys, if you just watching my video first time, just do the like and do subscribe. Of course, don't forget to subscribe my channel. And I'll just see you in the next video. Stay safe, stay healthy, wish you good health. Okay, see you soon in the next video. Okay guys, see you soon.